to another e-learning module. I am Guneet K. Sachdev from Tmeva Solutions, and I'm glad to have you back for part 3 of email excellence. I'm sure that by now you all know that in order to get more respect from your clients, you need to talk, write and look like mature bankers. We are on the second pillar of email excellence. In the first video, we talked about how you need to be very clear about the purpose of your email before you start writing. You also need to choose the recipients very carefully, and in case you are replying to an email or forwarding an email, you need to be very diligent about it. In the second video, we talked about the tone of your emails. Every email has a tone. How to decide the tone depends on why you are writing and who you are writing to. And then we discussed 7 very practical tips on improving the tone of your email. Today's module is all about the content of your email. An average office employee receives more than 125 official emails every day. Add to that personal emails, add promotional emails, spam, and that is a lot of clutter in our inboxes. In such a scenario, how can you ensure that when you send emails, they get, number 1, they get opened. Number 2, they get the objective, the response that you were looking for. And number 3, they create the perception of a professional, mature banker in the minds of the recipients. In this module, we are going to learn how to structure the content of your mail. We are going to do this by understanding the elements of content in an email so that it is professional and gets you the response that you need. We send so many emails every day that somehow, somewhere we tend to be casual about them. You need to think of your email as a letter being sent out on your business letterhead. Would you be casual when writing on your letterhead? Absolutely not. When writing on a letterhead, we are very careful about the language, the spacing, the stamp and signature and everything. And yet, your letterhead might soon just be thrown in a drawer somewhere or might even be tossed into the dustbin. Your email, however, stays forever. So we need to start giving more respect to our emails because every email is a representation of Axis Bank and a representation of you. So let us look at the key elements of content in an email. First things first, let's get them to open the email. Research says that only 25% of all emails are open. And how do we prioritize which emails to open, which emails to ignore is based on the subject line. Let us look at these two subjects and see which mail are you more likely to open. Is it A or is it B? I'm certain that your answer is B. And why is that? Because B is a much more clear statement of what the recipient can expect from this email. So let us look at some guidelines when it comes to writing a good subject. First of all, a blank subject can send your mail to spam. So always make sure that the subject is included. Secondly, your subject should give a clear idea of the content of the mail. It should not be vague, it should be clear and it should be descriptive. It should tell the recipient what exactly the email is about. Thirdly, if it is a confidential or personal email, you should say so in the subject so that the receiver does not accidentally open it in front of other people. Fourthly, keep the subject short. It should be visible for mail accessed on phone. We all know that most of the mail is now accessed on phone, and if the subject is too long, it will not be entirely readable on the phone. So make it concise, keep it short, avoid filler words, avoid articles like a and the, avoid prepositions wherever you can, and keep it very, very concise. And finally, in case you need immediate action, mark your subject as urgent or mark it as immediate and make sure you give the call to action within the subject itself. This will ensure that the receiver knows what exactly needs to be done, especially if it is time bound. They will know when you expect them to respond to your email. And then we move to salutation. So how do you address your recipients? Do you call them dear sir, dear Mr. Gupta, dear Anil, hello Mr. Gupta, hi Mr. Gupta, or just Anil? The answer depends on your relationship with that person. So like we talked about before, in this diagram, right in the middle you are standing and immediately next to you are the people that you're very close with, people that you send multiple emails every day. then you don't need any greeting, you can straight away move to the content. Just outside this circle, we have people who are your friends, your close colleagues, your work teams, so you can refer them as, you can greet them as hi. Outside this circle are those people who are your close professional contacts, your frequent contacts, so you can start your email with a hello. And in the outermost circle are those people who are your professional contacts or your new contacts, so you must address them as dear. Just remember that the most formal greeting would be dear sir or dear Mr. Gupta. A somewhat semi-formal will be dear Anil or hello Mr. Gupta, and an informal greeting will be hi Anil or hi Mr. Gupta. When you are using Mr. or Miss or Mrs., always try to use the last name or the full name and not just the first name. Also for women, you can use Miss for unmarried women and Mrs. for married women. However, now more and more we are trying to use Ms, which is MS, for all women irrespective of their marital status. And moving on now to the core message of your email. In the message, the first thing is the objective. And why is that? Why should you write the objective right at the top of the email? Well, that is so that you can give your reader an exact idea of what your email is about, so that he or she knows what to expect and how to respond. Make the reader realize the value of your email by giving him or her not only the purpose but also the benefit to them for the email. When you state the purpose of the email, the purpose is why you are sending the email, what benefit you will have. Until you highlight the benefit to the receiver as well, the chances of response and the chances of action remain low. But as soon as you tell them how they will benefit, how it will be good for them if they respond to that email or take the action that you're telling them to take, the response rate will be much higher. So make sure that right at the beginning, as you start typing the message, you state the objective of the email in very clear terms, and always try to use a so that statement highlighting the benefit for the receiver. So you can say something like, I am writing this email to let you know the process of doing your transaction online so that you can do it at your convenience. Next thing we talk about under the message section is structured content. Now we all know that emails tend to be ignored, emails are not always opened. So let us give the reader a reason to respond. Sharing a fun fact with you, 49% people admit to having sent an email without the required attachment, and I'm sure you can relate to it. At some point or the other, we have sent an email where we talked about sending an attachment, but we actually forgot to attach it. And even when you attach it, you can make it go one step forward by highlighting the key things that are there in the attachment within the body of the email. This makes you come across as a considerate person, as a professional person. Rather than just saying, please find attached, I can say, please find attached. In this attachment, following are the key 3 highlights. That makes you come across as a more mature banker. Always use formal language in your email. It is a formal piece of communication, so try to go for complex words instead of simple ones. Instead of saying kids, say children. Instead of saying sorry, say apologize. Try to use professional, sophisticated words. Also avoid using abbreviations or short forms. So I should not say that I will respond to you ASAP. I should say I will respond to you as soon as possible. So avoid abbreviations and avoid simple and casual language in your emails. Let us now look at this email and see what is the problem with this. This is just one big block of information. It looks like there's too much text, it's too much to read, and as soon as I look at this, I want to close this and never go back to it again. There's a very high chance of this email being ignored. How can we make this better? We can divide this into different sections. We can make bullet points and we can give appropriate spacing between those various bullet points so that there is easy readability. Let us look at this one now. It starts with a clear purpose, then there are clearly divided points, there is appropriate spacing between those points, and we are using short sentences which makes it easier to read and easier to respond to. In form and space, let's remember these key points. Use paragraphs rather than long passages, and wherever possible, use bullet points rather than paragraphs. Use white space to enhance readability. Put a blank line between paragraphs and points. If there is any URL or email address that you are sharing, give it on a separate line and give one space after every full stop and comma. Wherever possible, enumerate. Use bullet points or numbered lists to make it easy to understand and to highlight all the key points without making it overwhelming with a lot of information at one place. Sometimes we get an email and it is very well written and there is formal language and everything is nice, and however we still are not able to respond to that email. It's not our fault. The problem is that the email does not ask us to take any action. The email does not specify what needs to be done. It's very important at the end of every message to include a very clear and very specific call to action. After reading this email, what do you expect the reader to do? And by when do you expect the reader to do that? So every email should have a call to action. State clearly what you want the person to do. Be specific and give the expected date and time of action as well. And if you can, give impact of doing the action, because this will increase the chances of the person taking action by many-fold. A few examples here are, please give me permission for so-and-so by so-and-so date. Please inform me by so-and-so time so that I can do so-and-so thing. Please confirm receipt of dash by dash. Please be present on so-and-so date so that so-and-so thing can be done. To summarize, I will do this and request your help with that so that we can get X done. What a call to action does is that it makes you and the reader come on the same page. You both know what is supposed to be done, by when it is supposed to be done, and who is going to do it. So it increases the accountability and increases the chances of the objective of the mail being met. After the message, we move to the fourth element, which is closing. If you meet a client in person, at the end of the meeting, you will shake hands, you will have a warm smile, you will exchange some pleasantries, have a nice day, it was lovely meeting you. Something like that, equivalent of that, is a closing in an email. So you can end your email by saying, look forward to your continued relationship with us, or looking forward to your confirmation, or looking forward to a mutually beneficial relationship. It is just like smiling and shaking hands and saying bye. A good closing is very important to leave a lasting impact on the customer, to leave a smile on the customer's face. After a good closing, the last thing in your message should be a signature. It should come after you write your name, and this should include a few important lines, which will be your full name, your telephone or contact details, your branch details, your address, and any advertisement that has been approved by the bank. Make sure that you always have a signature in every mail that you send out so that it looks like a professional one coming from Axis Bank. And before you go, there are some more important things that I want to talk about. Be careful about the sensitivity of the content of your email. Sometimes your emails can be forwarded without your consent and without your knowledge, so make sure that the content is not too sensitive, not too confidential. When you are composing emails, key in the email addresses at the end. Sometimes while you are composing, while you're still to attach the attachments or you're still making some changes, you may accidentally hit the send button. If the email addresses are already there, you will end up sending an incomplete or an inaccurate email. So always enter the email addresses at the very end. Don't ignore suggestions of autocorrect. Be sure to check off the grammar, of the punctuation, any typing mistakes. Those can reflect very poorly on your personal brand. Always check if the attachment has been attached or not before you hit the send button, and also be careful of the size of the attachment. Sometimes if they are too large, you may not be able to send them on mail and you may have to use an alternative method. And if you are still not sure, it's always a good idea to check with a colleague. You can show your email, your draft to a colleague, to a senior, and ask them for the suggestions. They might be able to give you good suggestions from a neutral viewpoint. And finally, your responsibility of communication does not end by just sending the email. If you don't get a response, you should call up, you should send another follow-up email, send them a WhatsApp, send them a message. Do whatever it takes to complete the loop of communication by getting a response or getting the desired action from the recipients. After watching this video, I request you to go back to a moment to reflect sheet and record 2 things that you are doing well and 2 things that you want to improve, that you want to do differently after what you have learned from today's video. I want you to remember that a great email is the difference between being ignored and being responded to. And I want you to write emails that get the response and get the respect that you deserve. You are now ready to talk, write, and look like mature bankers. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the very best.